Aloha and welcome to ultimatetruth.org. I have created this website for Flat Earth community to help the people in the Flat Earth community understand the reason why the Flat Earth reality has been hidden from public view and who has been teaching the leaders of the free world to lie to humanity concerning the shape of the earth, basic science, and the cosmological models that we've been taught in school. I want to explore who has been teaching the leaders of the world to do this and why. And we're going to get right into that right now. There's a little short fella named Adolf Hitler who was bent on ruling the world. And I want you to know that this man is the devil in the flesh come to steal the whole earth right before our very eyes, as it were, in secret. In 1938, Hitler sent an expedition team to what we call Antarctica. While they were out there, they mapped the place. He dropped little lead balls of Nazi swastikas all over a large part of what they call Antarctica. And the Nazis carved out a piece of property down there bigger than the size of Germany and called it New Swabenland. They found large areas of that land were free from ice and snow, had fresh water, green vegetation, and were heated geothermally from the earth itself that heated those areas. And large caverns would be ideal to put in bases. And Hitler gave it number one priority to build a manufacturing city in what we call Antarctica. He named the thing New Berlin, and they code-named it Station 211. You can Google Nazi Base 211. All kinds of things are going to pop up. It is my understanding and my belief, and I've studied this since 1983, is when I've been researching this. It's my understanding that Hitler had perfected UFO technologies, including particle beam, force field weapons, and UFO flying saucers. And what he did was he sequestered himself and his most advanced scientific teams to New Berlin, Antarctica, Nazi Base 211, where they built a huge manufacturing city. He did this to keep those technologies hidden from the world and to prevent those technologies from being proliferated to the rest of the world. And he went down there and built a city where they have been mass producing these flying saucers, employing those technologies since 1941. And that's what's really going on. That's why the flat earth has been hidden, to keep people away from New Berlin, Antarctica, and to hide all this activity from public scrutiny. You see, I believe that all of time and history literally revolve around these two great men. One of them is the Jewish Messiah, Yeshua of Nazareth. He is the teacher of righteousness who teaches his children the way of peace that leads to life that has no end. He teaches us to love one another, to help one another, to forgive one another, and not to forcibly rule over other people. However, just like there is a Messiah, there's also an opposite Messiah. There is a devil in the flesh come to steal the whole earth right before our very eyes, as it were, in secret. And Mr. Hitler is perfectly that person. You see, all of time and history literally revolve around these two men and their manifestations in the flesh. One come to save the world, the other one come to steal it. One comes to build up a kingdom, and the other one comes to destroy every city upon the face of this earth. What happened was in 1945, when Berlin fell to the Allies, at that time, Mr. Hitler, his state government was completely defeated, crushed, annihilated. However, it's well documented that Hitler had over 250,000 intelligence agents in the field worldwide in 1945 when Berlin fell to the Allies. And what happened was as soon as the hostilities were over, as soon as Berlin was smashed by the Allied forces, the United States government opened its arms wide to embrace all the most elite Nazi intelligence agents they could find in the field worldwide were incorporated right into the ranks of the Central Intelligence Department when it was formed. See, that was Hitler's plan all along, because in this manner he was able to place his most intelligent, well-trained, elite, and well-groomed officers right into the ranks of the United States government and the Central Intelligence Department when it was formed. And then those Nazis were permitted to use that office as a vehicle to capture the executive branch of government here in the United States in 1946. See, when the Allies dropped the bomb on Japan, and the Japanese emperor surrendered to the Allied armed forces, the whole world celebrated the victory. And during that time of great celebration, the United States government quietly recalled all of its own intelligence officers, dismissed them on the GI Bill with a pat on the back and a job well done, and dismantled and abolished our own intelligence agency, the Office of Selective Services, the OSS. The Office of Selective Services was the intelligence apparatus for the United States Armed Forces during the Second World War. And they completely abolished that. Come on, guys, come on home. War's over. Here you go, get back to civilian life. And they completely abolished the OSS and formed a new thing called the Central Intelligence Department. Through Operation Paperclip and other operations like it, the most elite Nazi intelligence agents were incorporated right into the ranks of the Central Intelligence Department when it was formed. And then those Nazis were permitted to use that agency as a vehicle to capture the executive branch of government here in the United States. The same thing was done in Great Britain, Russia, and France. And what we have, and then in 1947, those Nazis in the Central Intelligence Department changed the name of that agency to the Central Intelligence Agency to signal to their counterparts worldwide that they had been completely successful in subjugating the United States government. And we have been under worldwide Nazi occupation ever since. You know, I've been preaching this for a long time. And I've been preaching it since 1983 when I first began to learn these things. And Flat Earth has done nothing but confirm my belief in these things and to assure it. It's so simple. Do you realize that Adolf Hitler, they built submarines the size of aircraft carriers? They built a dozen submarines the size of aircraft carriers. They used them as frigates. They weren't warships at all. They used it to supply New Berlin, Antarctica. And there's records the Russians have disclosed that where the Nazis imported over 10,000 women from Ukraine to act as surrogate mothers for those SS men as part of Hitler's Aryan race breeding program. They've been down there building next generation weapons, employing the levitation, the saucer machine technology, particle weapons, forced field technologies. They've been mass producing these things in what they call Antarctica. Now we're going to talk about NASA a little bit. I believe that NASA was conceived in Nazi Germany. It was brought over here to the United States in 1946. Mr. Werner von Braun carried the ball right over here to the States. Then between 1946 and 1958, Mr. von Braun recruited illustrator Walt Disney. And Werner von Braun and Walt Disney came together in 1958. Actually, they came together before then. But they publicly come together in 1958 to form NASA. NASA is nothing more and nothing less than a propaganda outlet for the New World Order. It's a propaganda outlet for the New World Order because it was so important to the Nazis' program, Hitler's master plan. It was so important to keep his advanced projects isolated from the rest of the world and sequestered from the rest of the earth. It was so important to keep those things hidden from public scrutiny that was required. Now, people who research flat Earth are going to come across Antarctica. They're going to come across Nazi Base 211. They're going to hear about the Antarctic Treaty. But they're not going to hear about how Hitler's plan was for his intelligence boys to switch hats with our guys at the end of the war. How they subjugated the United States government, infiltrated it from within, and used it as a vehicle to capture the executive branch of government. Who do you think killed Kennedy? Who do you think did that? It was that little short guy with the funny mustache. He was serious about ruling the whole world. He said that he had a duty to rebuild the master race, to create a new race of people that he called the Aryan people. He said that the ends justified the means by any means possible, by any means necessary. So if you want to know who has been hiding the flat earth reality from public view, it's Adolf Hitler. And if you want to know who has been keeping Antarctica off limits to the public, that's Adolf Hitler again. Research Operation High Jump, and you're going to see that the United States government sent Admiral Robert Byrd and Admiral Nimitz down to Antarctica in 1947 to mop up the remnants of a Nazi base that they believed might be located down there. They packed up 5,000 men and a whole armada of warships, aircraft carriers, submarine, destroyers, fuel, tankers, frigates, all went down there packed for heavy Arctic winter. They went down there for months, but they didn't stay very long because those UFOs, those flying saucers, come right up out the water and kicked their ass and sent them running home. Yeah. So I'm sure that most of you know the pieces to the puzzle. Now you know who the puzzler is. That's who the puppeteer is right there. It's that little man from Austria.